another Hunter Biden scandal. New reporting finds the president's son may have used an event hosted by his father, who was the vice president at the time, to set up meetings for his clients with the Chinese Communist Party and their officials. Joining us now is Pete Hegseth, co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend and the author of the amazing book, Battle for the American Mind, Uprooting a Century of Miseducation. Pete Hegseth, good to see you. Listen, this is my concern on what we're reading here. We all have read the emails and saw the interviews with Tony Bobulinski and the 10% that was being held by Hunter Biden for the big guy. Tony Bobulinski said that's for Joe Biden. So if Joe Biden was making money as the vice president, these are criminal violations that Joe Biden has committed. Where in the hell is the FBI investigating Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and the misuse of the vice presidency?
Well, they're laying out so-called classified documents in a nicely cropped photo at Mar-a-Lago. You know, we know exactly where their priorities have been. It's been Russia, Russia, Russia obsession all the while. The people making the business of politics a very wealthy one have been the Biden family. And we get distracted by the pornographic stuff, the crack smoking, all the salacious stuff. But the real criminality involved in, and there's lots of it, guns going missing, all of that, is the connections to foreign governments, the timeline between meetings that Hunter has with executives in foreign countries who are supposed to be adversaries of ours, or at least highly corrupt. And then 2 to 3 days later, meetings that are had at the residence or at the old executive office building, other places. Clearly, anyone with a set of eyes recognizes there's a connection between the business dealings and the political portfolio of Joe Biden. This yet another example. And the logical next step is to question, what impact might that have on the policies of a commander-in-chief, knowing the vulnerabilities of his son? So this is why taking over the majority in at least one chamber in November is critically important, so that they have to answer for these questions. Otherwise, there will be no accountability.
You know, Pete, that's a really important point because, you know, just Hunter Biden using the influence of his father to make money, there's nothing wrong with that. It smells, it's gross, but there's nothing illegal about that. But the problem is if Joe Biden, while vice president, was making money from his son. And this would be easy to find out. A forensic audit of Joe Biden's finances would tell us whether he was having his mortgage paid for, his car payment paid for, if he was, getting some of this money from his son. We would know that. And the FBI refuses to do a forensic audit to make sure Americans know that he's not compromised.
It's amazing, Sean. When you actually step back and think about it, it's sheer racketeering and criminality right in front of our eyes with information we were told was Russian disinformation. Of course, we know that's now not true. The FBI suppressed the investigation. They gave a heads up to Facebook, told them to say it was Russian investigation. Yet the criminality is all there to the guy who holds the keys to the country. They won't touch it. Reporters won't touch it. The institutions won't touch it. Yet they're running to ground what is now a debunked theory about Russiagate on a former president all the way into the desk drawers and effectively saying this is, he's leading the most dangerous movement in America and might be, giving away secrets to Russian agents. I mean, that's the poison tree of this entire trail to Donald Trump, and the criminality's right in front of us.
I look at our American kids dying from fentanyl and the fact that the chemicals do come from China. This is a controlled economy. They're allowing those drugs to go to the cartels to kill our kids, and Joe Biden doesn't say anything about it. It's disgraceful. But Pete, I want to talk about President Biden's desperate attempt to show voters he's pro-police while branding Republicans as the defunders of law enforcement. Do you think this strategy of trying to say Republicans are anti-law enforcement, but Joe Biden and the Democrats, they're pro-law enforcement, that they are not the ones that were trying to defund police over the course of the last 3 years?
I mean, it's like me coming out and saying, I'm pro-socialism after, all the years of talking about what I believe in on the air, or me saying I'm pro, Green Bay Packers as a lifelong Vikings fan. You've been on one side of the ledger.
There's still hope for you, Pete.
I know you like that one. You like that one. No. We stole Brett Favre from you. You remember that.
I do
His
remember.
best years were with us.
No.
It's a good one. But you can't, I just don't think voters are going to buy it. It's Democrat-led cities. They know where the defund movement came from. They know where those slogans came from. They watch the pandering. Thankfully, networks like ours, shows like yours, will continue to talk about it. they can, and then they tie it to a piece of legislation saying, oh, Republicans didn't vote for funding of police when that legislation was about so much more than that. You know how those games get played in Washington, D.C. So they try to play a too cute by half strategy. Voters aren't going to buy it. If they vote in that direction, it's for other twisted reasons, not because they believe suddenly the Democrat Party has become the pro-police party. The only agents of enforcement they seem to like these days are the IRS.
100%. You know, I would have some belief in Joe Biden in his effort to say, you know what, I do support law enforcement. If he was going to call out the Soros-funded DAs that weren't enforcing the law, or if he called out the squad for their effort to defund the police, he actually put his ire on those folks in his party. I'd go, Joe Biden's coming around on law enforcement. But to attack Republicans, to say they didn't, to your point, vote for a bill where some of the money could have been used if a city or a state so wanted, but it wasn't specifically set aside for law enforcement. And because of that, oh no, the Republicans are anti-law enforcement.
It's not a game they're going to win in public relations. Not to mention law enforcement is Border Patrol as well, who've been totally kneecapped.
Yeah, no, you're right. I want to pivot here, Pete, because earlier in the show, before you came on, we talked about the devastating consequences of keeping kids out of school for 2 years because of COVID. We've seen the scores for reading and math drop precipitously. You have a chapter in your book called Our COVID-16-19 Moment. Talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, teachers' unions fought to keep kids in masks and out of the classroom. And as a result, when you can't see what people are saying or you can't have one-on-one instruction, parents, especially in disadvantaged homes, in homes where they don't have the same resources, are not able to do the basic instruction. So kids fail. But if you look at that graph, those reading and math scores have been sideways or down for a decade prior to COVID. So unions get involved and block it. Public schools have been failing in academic excellence for over a decade and for quite some time. The only upside to COVID and education is the fact that kids weren't able to be as exposed to the woke stuff. But of course, when they were, parents saw it and woke up to that reality. So our book is mostly about the cultural component of education, how it's been hijacked by the progressive left over 100 years. We barely touch on academic excellence, but academic excellence is an afterthought in these institutions as graduates are graduating at 50, 60% reading proficiency. It's an abject failure. And yet they want to rename schools.
You know, I got to tell you what, I thought I understood this issue, and then I watched your special on Fox Nation, which, by the way, is awesome, and then read the book. Thank you for shedding light on this issue. I don't think enough Americans understand what's happening. It's a great book. Pete Hegseth, thanks for joining me.